everybody. And I'd like to thank you very much for being here today and to say how good it is to see you and how good it feels to be back again, celebrating our annual exchange, which always provides a major boost of positive energy and well-being, at least for me. And many thanks to the organizing committee, especially Monica and Miguel Angel, for all the hard work and dedication needed to organize these events, which are always filled with challenges and hiccups, needless to say. So also, I must say that I dearly hope that we will manage to go back to presential meetings, as I'm sure we all miss those, even with the scope and convenience of online seminars and conferences. Okay, so I shall.
Soniya, do you want maybe Jairo to read a short bio so that people?
Yeah, okay, no problem.
More about you.
All right, then, fine. Sure.
Thank you, Monica. I just didn't want to interrupt you.
That's okay.
Okay, so let me just introduce our speaker briefly. Soniya, she's an Indo-British artist. She's lived in various parts of Africa and India. She currently resides and works in Madrid, Spain. And as an artist and researcher, her work focuses on themes closely related to people, cultures, historical memory, and gender. These concerns inform both her artistic practice and research. She also has a PhD in postcolonial studies, feminism in contemporary Indian art, from the Institute of Feminist Studies and the Faculty of Political Sciences and Sociology, Complutense University of Madrid, and an art degree in Fine Arts from the University of Nigeria. She is a member of the Spanish Association for Interdisciplinary Indian Studies and has exhibited widely. Her artwork can be found in both public and private collections. This artistic session offers an opportunity to explore the art of Amrita Sher-Gil and to connect with the philosophy of what could have been her life motto, that is, be everything you are, as in the title of this session. So Soniya invites us to explore our own creativity through an alternative personal and emotional journey. In the process, the question of reconciliation with roots, identity, and self, even while caught en route, in the midst of diasporic to homecoming journeys, will be also explored. So Soniya, again, the room is yours.
Thank you so much, Jairo. Thank you. All right, then. So, well, I shall start my session with an introduction to the artist Amrita Sher-Gil, her background and work, and with a guided sampling of her paintings, a few of her paintings, and a couple of videos, one in which her nephew Vivan Sundaram gives us an insight into her personality and work, and the other by Priyanka Matthew, expert at the renowned London auction house Sotheby's. Hopefully we'll have time for all of this. After that, I will provide instructions on simple but practical techniques for creating an artwork using the online platform Sketchpad. We will then use images of Amrita Sher-Gil's artwork to allow for an artistic performance in unison. And for the creative process, I hope that all participants will tap into their imagination and emotions and explore the concept of self, identity, and journeys. At the end of our creating session, I hope that some of you will share your artwork with us and explain a little about the feelings behind what you have created. I named today's art workshop with a rather long, descriptive, rambling title, Be Everything You Are, a stroll with Amrita Sher-Gil, reconciling with roots, identity, and self, from diasporic to homecoming journeys. Hopefully the reason for this somewhat lengthy title will unfold and become meaningful as we go along, especially also while we work on our creations during the practical part of this session. We can see here a letter that Amrita wrote to her parents in September 1934, in which she states her intentions to travel back to India in order to further her artistic development. She highlights that her parents are mistaken to consider that they, as a family, they have no interest in India, in its culture, its people, and its literature. And she asserts that all of these factors interest her profoundly. also stating, and I quote, "I now need new sources of inspiration," end of quote. She states in the letter that staying in Europe helped her discover India, and that, I quote, "modern art has led me to the appreciation and comprehension of Indian painting and sculpture," end of quote. Art historian and curator Yashodhara Dalmia highlights the legendary character of the artist Amrita Sher-Gil in her 2013 biography. Dalmia points to the continued scarcity of true knowledge of the expanse of Amrita's artwork, as well as her struggles as a woman artist in the public arena of the 1930s. She created numerous paintings in the span of very few years. The National Gallery of Modern Art in Delhi has about 107 canvases covering both her time in Europe and in India. Amrita Sher-Gil was born in Budapest on January 30th, 1913, practically on the eve of the First World War. Her mother, Marie Antoinette Gottsman, who was Jewish and came from a French, Hungarian, German, bourgeois middle-class family, was an opera singer. Here we can see photos from the family album of when Amrita was born and a picture of her with her younger sister Indira. They were very close and Amrita wrote to her sister frequently. Indira's son and daughter Vivan Sundaram and Navina Sundaram have contributed towards expanding the knowledge of Amrita Sher-Gil's legacy and history. The girls were brought up listening to European classical music and Hungarian folktales. And Vivan Sundaram is currently quite a well-known Indian contemporary artist. Amrita Sher-Gil's father was Sardar Umrao Singh Sher-Gil Majithia. He was a Sikh aristocrat and nationalist from Amritsar, a highly cultured intellectual and photographer. Her privileged family background meant that she grew up in the company of poets, artists, and intellectuals. As such, grand celebrations amongst influential political and societal connections were the norm in the Sher-Gil home. As the daughter of a Sikh father and Hungarian mother, she spent part of her childhood in Budapest during the unsettled years leading up to the Second World War, before permanently settling in India after having completed her art education in the prestigious École Nationale des Beaux-Arts in Paris. On the left, we can see a letter she wrote to her parents during her first years in India, when she was about 12. She laments the fate of a child bride sitting in a corner in forlorn silence on the verge of being married to an older man in his 50s, while women dressed in gold and glittering saris and jewels celebrate the wedding. So knowledge of Amrita Sher-Gil's sharp-tongued and voracious character offer cues for speculation about the possible struggles with identity and self that she might have undergone as both a pioneering woman artist and an Indian Hungarian Jew. This particular painting, titled Two Girls, was painted in 1939, the picture that we can see on the left, apparently while on a visit to Budapest. It is one of her largest and arguably amongst her most sensual paintings. It's often compared to Frida Kahlo's The Two Fridas, also painted in 1939. Both paintings present us with two figures, one dark-skinned, non-European, and the other fairer-skinned, apparently European. As Pertha Mitter states, it's difficult not to read into both these paintings clear allusions to the fragmented self, quoting Pertha. The art critic Charles Fabry stated that through her work, Sher-Gil, and I quote, built a perfect bridge between the artistic vision of the West and of India, end of quote. In the retake version that we can see on the right by Vivan Sundaram, her nephew, he states, and I quote him, it's a rather long quote, recent interpretations of Amrita Sher-Gil's paintings foreground her interest in female sexuality. In Two Girls, the female is painted distinctly from a woman's perspective. It presents sisterhood, bonding, and the perpetually sought marriage of East and West. The young girls in the painting, their frontality and distant look are doubled by the difference between the two sisters. I bring together Amrita and Indra from different locations in the mid-30s to Simla. Their gazes always diverge, end of quote. Two Girls is as such often interpreted as being a portrayal of Amrita Sher-Gil's clashing desires and conflicting emotions. The confrontation between her binary fragmented selves, light and dark, east and west, sexual and lesbian attraction and restraint. Archives of letters and photographs of Amrita Sher-Gil seem to indicate that she had what has been termed as a number of torrid affairs while in Paris. Amongst these, there were also indications that she might have had an intimate relationship with a fellow female art student and painter, Marie-Louise Chazonnet. There are letters that were exchanged between her very concerned mother and herself, where Amrita attempts to calm the rumors her mother worries about, while at the same time discussing with her the advantages of lesbian relationships, which would be free of the dangers of STD or unwanted pregnancies. She must have had a very open relationship with her parents, needless to say, to be able to discuss these issues in the 1930s. We know that Amrita Sher-Gil grew up during a crucial point in history in which India and Europe were undergoing major socio-political turmoil and issues. These factors, in addition to the privileges and opportunities of her mixed aristocratic background, undoubtedly shaped in a major way who she was, as well as her artistic practice. Additionally, this was the period in history when India was preparing for a looming anti-colonial struggle. France was being torn by rising fascism, disease, and economic depression, while Europe, all of Europe, was on the brink of the Second World War. The circumstances above were probably most influential in the Sher-Gil's family's decision to move to Simla, Punjab in North India in 1921. Amrita was 9 years old when she met her father's family for the first time. As such, the young Amrita spent her mid-childhood years in what was famously the summer capital of the British colonial Raj, with its moderate weather, scenic landscape, and colonial heritage. Both Amrita and her younger sister Indira, and I quote, radiated a self-confidence that comes from a childhood spent in a high-class and intellectual milieu, end of quote, as Navina Sundaram states in her short film about the family. They were part of the cultural and social scene of Simla, pertaining to the influential Anglo-Indian elite. Around about 1929, when she was a teenager, the family went back to France on the advice of Irvin Bakhday, Amrita Sher-Gil's maternal uncle, who was an Orientalist scholar and painter. He noticed his niece's exceptional artistic talent. As such, she was enrolled first in the Académie de Grand Chaumière, as previously mentioned, and later the prestigious École Nationale des Beaux-Arts. During this time, Amrita Sher-Gil developed her art technique in the academic European style by painting nudes, still lifes, and portraits. She often relied on family members for models, as can be seen in this painting titled Sleep on the left, for which her sister Indira posed, and the untitled nude on the right, for which her cousin Viola was the model. Viola's brother Victor, who was her cousin, would later be the person who she married. Some of her most striking self-portraits are from this period, and these paintings are specifically the ones which later led her to be compared to the Mexican artist Frida Kahlo. It was this period in which she began developing a uniquely personal and distinctively recognizable style. She began to fuse Western traditional techniques with Indian colors and stylization. In this slide, we can see her painting titled Young Girls on the left, painted in 1932. She was awarded the gold medal in Paris, in the Paris Salon Art show for this piece in 1933. What was more significant was the fact that she was invited to become a member of the prestigious Grand Salon a highly unusual achievement for an artist as young as she was. And even more exceptional was the fact that she was an Indian woman artist. The painting shows Amrita's young sister in Indira in an upright position, confidential stance, wearing a Western outfit, sitting in the front of her partially undressed friend, Denise Protax, whose face is hidden by her hair. One of the girls is clearly bold and daring, while the other one seems reserved and shy, hidden from the viewer's gaze. One could almost interpret the painting as being a reflection of Amrita Sher-Gil's multifaceted personality and somewhat torn identity, with the complex interplay between Eastern and Western cultures. Extrovert, vivacious, and sociable as she was known to be in the Parisian and Indian society, as well as melancholic, pensive, and prone to depression, as is evidenced in her numerous letters to her parents, friends, and sister. The photograph on the right is a composition by Amrita's father, Umrao Jan, of her and her models while they were at work. Sher-Gil is seen by art historians and cultural theorists as to have been a social rebel, an iconoclast, as well as an avant-garde. Her what could be considered as hybrid identity and complex personality seemed to be reflective of the troubled times in which she lived. This was a period when profound elements were challenging and reshaping Indian history. The 1930s and 40s were a tumultuous period marked by both steadfast conventionalism and momentous change. However, to her credit, studies show that Amrita always seemed to manage to live life on her own terms. In her own words, as quoted in Yashodhara Dalmia's biography, Sher-Gil states, and I quote, "I am unable to use the capacity of conviction because I don't have faith in accepted values." End of quote. Sher-Gil also states in a letter addressed to her cousin Victor Egan, and I quote, "You should always do what you want to do. I hope I will always have the power to do what I want to do, that which will suit my own wishes." End of quote. Even a cursory study of Sher-Gil's character makes it clear that she was dismissive and unrestricted by the conventional constraints of societal norms, the rigid and veiled expectations, or the limiting stance of cultural practices of the time. Her strong and fierce personality, alongside the characteristics of her defiant, free-spirited, frank, and nonconformist persona, were clearly visible in her lifestyle as well as her artwork. These came through visibly as she voiced her thoughts regarding the artistic tendencies and artists of the period, as well as in her writings. She was blunt and often sharply critical in her views of, for example, Tagore's poetry and Jamini Joy's artwork. She's known to have criticized the Bengal school, accusing it of functioning as, and I quote, "signs of colonialism rather than markers of liberation." End of quote. This is as quoted by Sonal Kuhar. By 1934, Amrita had created in a number of paintings which are considered to be amongst her most accomplished pieces. Here we see her famous self-portrait as Tahitian, painted precisely in 1934. She seemed to have been inspired by the paintings of Paul Gauguin during a visit to the National Gallery in London. Gauguin is known to have employed expressive color and stylized figures to represent life on Tahiti. For a time, his work seemed to influence Sher-Gil's interpretations of the non-Western body. We can also see traces of this influence in many of her pieces posterior to that period. In Self-Portrait as a Tahitian, she seems to deliberately play with her position as the exotic other in metropolitan Paris. On the left-hand side, we can see a composition by Vivan Sundaram, her nephew, the artist, the contemporary artist, where he combines her painting with a portrait, a photograph of her from their archives. However, by this time, as cited in Dalmia's biography, Amrita began to be, and I quote, "haunted by an intense longing to return to India," end of quote. At the time, she is famously known to have boldly stated, "Europe belongs to Picasso, Matisse, Braque, and many others. India belongs only to me." And although such an audacious claim made by a young 21-year-old recently graduated art student could be considered pompous, Amrita Sher-Gil did indeed position herself at the forefront of modernity in Indian art. Her paintings, informed by both Western and Eastern artistic tendencies, became the bridge between two immensely diverse cultural and artistic systems, which were nonetheless interdependent and on the verge of divergent confluence. As such, Amrita Sher-Gil managed, in the span of her extremely short lifetime, to carve the way towards modernity for Indian art and artists and pioneer the inclusion of women artists of India within the professional sphere. Her appearance at the commencement of modernism in Indian art led to what eminent art critic and historian Geeta Kapoor terms as the inadvertent feminization of modern art, in her words. An appraisal of Amrita Sher-Gil's paintings show her groundbreaking role in the modernization of Indian painting. Famously, writer and cultural art historian Partha Mitter considers Sher-Gil to be the first, and I quote, professional woman artist in India, end of quote. Much of her work she created during the period when she was in India also makes it evident that she sought to represent the existentialism of the rural populations, especially the peasant women of the time. She's largely recognized as being the first significant Indian artist to make the rural poor her major subject, according to the art historian and curator W.G. Archer. Mulk Raj Anand, one of India's literary giants, whose body of work focused particularly on highlighting the plight of the impoverished and lower caste of India, interpreted Sher-Gil's renowned painting titled Three Girls, seen here on the left, as young girls awaiting arranged marriages, destined to be, and I quote, condemned in their early life to fade away after being given with dowry to husbands unknown to them, end of quote. We might remember the letter she wrote to her parents with a drawing when she was about 12, referring to the same issue, the one that we saw at the beginning of this presentation. The downcast, melancholic expressions of their somber brown faces contrast sharply with the vivid reds, greens, and ambers of their clothing. Their mood is clearly despondent, and thus Mulk Raj's interpretation may not have been far off from reality. Starting with Three Girls, her paintings began to divert from the academic realist style of her European schooling, moving towards a flatter, more modern technique. That year, she also painted a couple of paintings titled Hill Men and Hill Women. These presented people from Indian villages in a simplified and stylized portrayal with sad expressions and elongated vertical compositions. The results suggest a sense of sadness alongside dignity. Mulk Raj Anand was particularly interested in Amrita Sher-Gil's paintings, considering that he himself used his work to analyze and present extremely perceptive and sensitive insights into the lives of the oppressed. His work includes poignant studies of camouflaged interests in the maintenance of impoverishment and exploitation by India's social structures of the time, as well as the British rule. Amrita Sher-Gil's journeys between India and Europe, her mixed heritage and personal relationships, as well as her own personality, were undoubtedly influential in her sensitivity towards the rural society she portrayed in her paintings. These factors obviously contributed to the tone of her portrayals, as well as her reaction, vision, and perspective of the figures in her paintings. Saloni Mathur refers to a part of this phenomenon, as I quote, as Sher-Gil's modern consciousness and her unique way of dealing with belonging and unbelonging, unquote. The late renowned North American Palestinian post-colonial scholar, literary critic, and activist, Edward Said, poignantly penned his analysis on the subject of exile, belonging, and identity in the following words: seeing the world as a foreign land makes possible originality of vision. Although Amrita Sher-Gil was never strictly in exile, she must have experienced many of the conflicting emotions that accompany the ongoing experience of not quite belonging. These are sentiments which accompany many of us who have wandered amongst cultures and countries, while at the same time making them and calling them home. As such, it's not in any way surprising that she possessed the plurality of perception and vision to which Said referred, a perception that often remains inaccessible to many individuals, a vision that provides a unique consciousness of multiple dimensions, and one that clearly and visibly informed her artistic journey. In the documentation of an exhibition of Amrita Sher-Gil's work in 2007, Anne Coxon of the Tate Modern states that, and I quote, "Amrita Sher-Gil's vibrant canvases and her short but dynamic life have established her as one of India's most celebrated modern artists," end of quote. One could speculate that as a woman artist of mixed heritage from an upper class intellectual aristocratic family, Amrita Sher-Gil was able to overcome the power structures which, as feminist art historians have attributed, traditionally erased women artists from the center stage of art history discourse. As briefly mentioned previously, Amrita Sher-Gil is often compared to Mexican artist Frida Kahlo. Inevitably, there is a tendency to encounter in the media and elsewhere the phrase Amrita Sher-Gil, the Indian Frida Kahlo. Undeniably, the two artists were contemporaries and shared many common factors, such as their mixed cultural heritage, Hungarian cultural heritage, fiery personalities, and recognizable self-portrait paintings. These were powerful self-portraits of hypnotic intensity, suggesting sensuality, sumptuousness, as well as tragic lyrics and melancholy. Both Amrita and Frida were customarily highly flamboyant in their dress style, often wearing exotic outfits that contributed to their larger-than-life personas. As we saw earlier, Pertha compares Sher-Gil's paintings, The Two Girls, with Frida Kahlo's painting, The Two Fridas, both painted in 1939, and he denominates them as an allegory of the fragmented, with Amrita's representing the Hungarian Indian self and Frida's representing her European Mexican Indian self. However, I would suggest that an excessively simple likening of Amrita Sher-Gil as an Indian Frida Kahlo does the former a major disservice. Both Amrita and Frida were exceptional in their talents, yet a reversal of the comparison in which Frida Kahlo is likened to Amrita Sher-Gil as Frida, the Mexican Amrita Sher-Gil, is of course non-existent. Amrita Sher-Gil was highly controversial, unconventional. She was groundbreaking and audacious in every way. Controversial. This was reflected in her lifestyle, her non-puritanical sexuality, and in her artwork. It is inappropriate to call her the Indian Frida Kahlo, and important to consider her for what she was, a forerunner in both Indian and Europe of modern 20th century art. Her achievements in the span of a very short lifetime resist the need for analogy. She was simply exceptional and has effectively established a permanent legacy. Her work not only embodied and contributed to the increasing insurgence of a unique Indian identity, but effectively bridged Eastern and Western history, artistic aesthetics, and philosophies. As such, her painting proved, in fact, to be representative of her very own sense of self and self-rule as both artist and woman. The drama of Amrita Sher-Gil's personal life matched her colorful personality and artistic career. She is known to have had a very close relationship with the British journalist Malcolm Muggeridge of the Statesman newspaper. She also had what was an apparently developing intimacy with Jawaharlal Nehru and close ties with art historians Karl Kanderwala and Charles Fabry. Amrita Sher-Gil, as such, was always at the very center of societal attention and chit-chat. Tragically, she died in 1941 at the age of 28, from what to all appearances was the result of a fatally botched abortion carried out by her medical husband, Victor Regan. At the time, she was right in the middle of preparing a major solo show in Lahore, now Pakistan. And she passed away a week before the opening on the 5th of December, 1941. And most of her paintings were donated by the family to the National Gallery of Modern Art in Delhi, leaving very few pieces in private collections. Now, if we have time, before we start the practical session of this workshop, I'd like to show you a couple of short videos. In the first one, like as mentioned previously, Vivansundaram Amrita Sher-Gil's nephew, that is her sister Indra's son, and art critic Geeta Kapoor, Kapoor's husband, gives us a take on Amrita Sher-Gil. And the second video is taken from the archives of the London Auction House, Sotheby. Here, Priyanka Matthew, Vice President of Modern Contemporary South Asian Art at Sotheby's, presents Amrita Sher-Gil to the public. So thank you very much. Once we finish the videos, I will quickly explain how to use the program Sketchpad, and we'll begin with the practical creative part of our session. And I'll also send you some list of sites where you can get examples of Amrita Sher-Gil's work. Okay, so let's see. We do have time, right, for the video? Yeah, for the video. So let's see, hopefully it's gonna open up. Can we see that?
The video, or I can't see the slide.
No, Soniya, we're not watching the video. We're just looking up the slides, but not the video, I'm afraid.
Maybe you have to stop sharing that, because you're only sharing the PowerPoint.
You can't see it, so you can't.
Yeah.
So you can't see that. Okay, I'll have.
Yeah.
So I need to share the screen again and share the video, right? Okay, hold on. Let's try. Let's see if that comes up now. Where's it gone? I can see it.
You either have to share your whole desktop or the internet app which you're using.
Okay, here I think it's, yeah, there it is. Can you see it now? Yeah, that's it. Okay, I'll start it from the beginning. I don't know if you can hear. I hope you can hear it. Can you hear it?
No yet.
I think we need it louder. I can listen a little bit.
Can you hear it?
Not really, a tiny bit. I think it needs to be louder.
Okay, hold on. I'll put it up to the maximum and see if we can. Okay, so now I've got it up at the maximum. Let's see. Sorry, that wasn't the right one. Okay, so I hope we could hear that okay, yes. Do we have time for me to show you the Vivan Sundaram?
Yes.
Okay, I think, yes, no? Okay, let's see, try this one now and see how it works. Okay, beginning from the beginning.
Very short life, the body of work, and explores both Eastern and Western traditions.
Soniya, do you think you can activate the subtitles?
Okay, hold on, let me see if I can. Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So I hope we could hear that okay. We could hear that clearly. Now I'm just going to send you some links that you can use for the workshop before I explain the use of Sketchpad, okay?
Soniya, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you want
I think on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, sorry, we have layers where we can also choose different things, changing the positioning. So this is basically the program that I think it's very intuitive, and as you go along, you'll sort of be able to use it quite simply. I think you can, this is, if you wanted to go back and undo anything, you just have to click on this, and then it will basically undo everything that we've done on the back arrow, and then we can click on the forward arrow again if you want to redo it. So in any case, if you have any questions or any trouble while you're actually doing the creative session, or actually creating, I'll be here so you can ask me and we'll try and resolve any issues that come up together. Thank you very much. Okay, Jairo, so any comments, questions?
Is there any question for Soniya or comments? The room. Miguel is, I think it's Miguel is raising your hand. Are you raising your hand, Miguel?
No, it's just clapping. Don't worry. Yeah.
Clapping.
Yeah. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Luz, please. We can hear you. Look, we can hear you. Your mic's off.
Sorry, I said that I just wanted to thank you because for me, this painter has been today. I mean, I didn't know her, and today it has been a kind of discovery. I worked on Frida Kahlo a long time ago, and I also made a comparative study with Emily Carr, the Canadian painter.
Right.
And you know, there are so many similarities between the two painters. Similarities, but also differences, very interesting differences actually. So just that thanks to you, I will work on this painter in the future. Just that. Thank you.
Thank you for being there.
I do have a question and a comment actually. So there's nobody else who wants to say something. there is a turning point in her career, isn't it? Because we can see certain at the beginning of her career, she's more inspired with this kind of Parisian, impressionist kind of style, but then she turns into something different that is perhaps more local, isn't it? So do we know why? Do we know why she's changing so radically from one style to another? One that perhaps it is more European, and now something that is more, you know, more local perhaps, or more much modern, if so. So do we know why?
Well, she you know, she was trained in the traditional European style. So that's when all the paintings that we see with that very thick paint layers, the Impressionist style, was basically during her academic training period. When she went back to India, she's known to have traveled around India, to have visited Ajanta Ellora, you know, the caves with the paintings in Ajanta. So I think she was very much influenced by Ajanta paintings and miniature painting in India. In fact, she's known to have said at one point that that just one little figure in the Ajanta caves is more than the whole Renaissance. I mean, it's obviously an exaggeration for her to have said that, but you know, but she was very much inspired by those the religious and the erotic Ajanta paintings that she came across during those travels. I think she spent like over 6 months traveling around during that period. So that was possibly the major influence that changed her technique. And then of course she was inspired from a very young age, as we saw, by the actual conditions of the impoverished and the general classes in India. And I think those trying to sort of express that sense of that inspiration that she got from those and trying to represent those populations sort of changed, also kind of contributed to this change in style that she developed, especially with the melancholic sort of figures that she started painting. So I think it was a lot to do with what was inspiring her and the influence of the Indian traditional miniature and Ajanta paintings, and that those were crucial in in that defining change in her style.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I figured it out because of the kind of painting back then. She was painting like a more European style, and then now she's into the real thing. Painting
very flat painting. All the layers, there were no more layers of paint as they were in the first in her first period.
Yeah. And another thing, I was looking at these beautiful paintings of naked women, and it reminds me a lot of a Canadian, also impressionist painter. His name is Néstor Martín Fernández de la Torre, and he has a beautiful collection called Poema de la Tierra, and he's painting a lot of homoerotic bodies as well. And I think you have to Google this because you're gonna love it, because it has a lot of resemblance with this painter. So thank you.
She must have come across he's contemporary, or was he? Yeah, is he contemporary or he's from that period?
Let me check this out because I don't know. I don't think he's that old. Nestor Martin, he was born in, oh yeah, he's from that era.
Yeah. So there is always the interplay of influences, you know, because she was although she studied in Paris, but she must have been influenced by Hungarian art as well, you know. So I think there's always like a parallel influence going on with the artists during the same period, apart from later on the influences that you get from historical art as well. So it's interesting. I mean, also the training in Europe at the time in general must have been, there must have been parallels to the training in the academic training in the different schools of Europe. So obviously that was also influential in her techniques at the beginning, you know, those very powerful figures that we have. You know.
Thank you, Soniya.
Thank you.
Artistic session.
Okay, so I hope we're gonna start the practical session of this workshop. I don't know how many people are gonna participate, but anyway, I'll be here if you have any. I think I've sent everything in the chat. Like I've sent links to her what you call it, her work that you can find, and I've sent the link to Sketchpad as well. If there's anything that you need, do let me know so I can help you out, and I'll be here. And hopefully we'll come back at the end of just before lunch to see what you have, and if we have time you can present some of your stuff and some of your creations and what went behind them.
Yes, Soniya, I have a question.
Mhm.
A request more than a question. Can you just copy paste everything you put on the chat again? Because my Zoom app stopped working and it kicked me out. So I can't see what was in the chat before. So it's just
okay, let me see if I can. I'll just
basically again.
Yeah, I'm just gonna copy this the link that I've the one with her paintings where you can find her work. Okay, so I've just done that, and then I'll give you the Sketchpad as well in a minute. Okay, let me just go
and we have to like choose a painting and do some like
there's no restrictions to, you can choose one or several paintings, or if you don't have to, if you don't want to, you can just create something without a painting, but whatever you feel like, you just look at her stuff and anything that inspires you. The program, the app is quite simple. It shouldn't be difficult to use. I'm going to send you the link to the app as well.
It's also missed part of the explanation when I was kicked out. That's why I was asking.
Right. So, okay. Yeah, so, so it's very intuitive. When you go in there, you'll see that it's very simple and very intuitive to use. The left-hand side, you have all the options of tools that you can use to color, to draw, and then to copy paste you just need to press Control V because I wasn't able to find a clear paste symbol anywhere. But if you click on an image and you copy it, and then you want to paste it in Sketchpad with Control V, it pastes. So if anyone has any issues, you can just ask me and I'll try it out myself and let you know what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Monica, thanks. Enjoy. Happy creating.
How's everyone doing?
How's it going? How did it go?
Fine. I did a collage instead of a painting.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. Collages are great.
Hey, Miriam wants to start. She's written it on the chat.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Miriam.
How share this?
If you need, you can share your screen with us and then we can see what you have.
It's okay.
Lovely. Yep, we can all see it.
Is this?
Very nice. It's very nice.
Okay, I stopped. Share. Got it?
Yep.
Okay.
Me too, Monica. I'm embarrassed now. I don't want to show mine.
Mine's it's more conceptual. I can justify myself like that.
Okay.
I can't see it anymore. Can you all see Miriam's work?
No, she stopped sharing.
Ah, she stopped sharing. Okay, sorry.
Should I share mine before everybody start sharing the masterpiece?
Do you want to no, I was wondering if Miriam wanted to talk about what she'd done, you know, so we can see what went into it. So if we can sort of one by one, you know, one starts sharing and then talks about it. And Jairo, you can do the next one if you fancy.
I don't know what talking about. I don't know.
Why did you choose that particular piece?
Okay, I share again, no? I liked the color, the green. And how, what is she is thinking, no?
It's very nice.
Like a costume. And I only started to try doing the things because I don't do those things. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very experimental with this sketchpad, unless because we unless you've used it before. Well, you know, none of us have used it. I don't think so. It's just so it's always an experiment to start off with anyway.
Yes, experiment. I only trying do the things, see what happened, and
but the program is quite flexible and good if you know, it takes a little bit of time, but if you learn it, it's
easy.
It's easy. Yeah, it's easy to use. So it's great. Lovely. Well, thank you, Miriam. It's lovely, very colorful, very bright.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so who's gonna go next? Jairo, are you gonna share yours now with us? Okay, brilliant. Oh, very good. Very suggestive. Oh, we can't hear you, Jaira.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can. Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to create here like this binarism that we can see actually in this painter because of her European and her Indian roots, but also you were talking about her lesbianism as well, which is also a dichotomy. So I wanted to bring both of these ideas together, both Europe and India, and also being queer as something that connects us, you see, because we have certain shared experiences as the violence on our bodies, okay? This is why, because of blood. Then also different shapes because of our diversity. And this is one of the paintings here. This is one of the paintings that I was talking about.
Right.
From Nestor, that it reminded me somehow of this painting as well. And also this is a European painting, but also is quite similar to this very traditional Indian painting of women smelling flowers and giving others flowers to smell. And also here, women engaging each other. So it is a way of, you know, reconciling queer, you know, being queer sort of reconciles both hemispheres here, India and Europe in the sense. So, yeah.
Brilliant, Jaira. Thank you so much. That's great.
Thank you. But the thing is, I don't know how to stop. Oh, here it is. Here it is.
Okay, brilliant. So who'd like to go next?
If you don't mind, I would like to. But
okay, please do.
Mine is like very different, so I feel a bit embarrassed now. But anyway, if I can figure out how to do this. Oh, it doesn't let me share. Oh, I have to go out and come back. Can I do that? And the other person?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Noelia, I'll make you co-host in case that's the problem. I don't know if that's a problem because Miriam could do it, but just in case. No, I can't. Miguel, can you do that? Or I can't make people hosts.
Okay, because I can't figure it out. I just sent a picture on the chat. Maybe that will work. Is that all right?
Okay, I just saw that. Yeah, I'll just download it.
I just made you a co-host. I don't know if it works now. It should have worked before, but maybe now it does.
It's a problem with my computer, so don't worry. I just I sent it. I hope that's enough. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. No worries.
So I don't know if you're seeing it, but it's not very creative. When I saw the picture, I just thought of having like feeling like going back to India and feeling so different. And I used to do henna before. And
right.
Yeah, so I just feel like trying to put like lots of drawings on her, so it would feel more like coming back to her roots. I don't know.
Great. Okay, thank you. I haven't been able to open it. I don't know, but that's okay. We'll, later on as we're gonna hopefully be able to exhibit the pieces in the India. Do you think we'll be able to do that, Monica? Put them up somewhere where we can access and sort of see them later on?
Yeah, we can do that on the website, I think.
Yeah, on the website.
Might know how to.
Yeah, great, lovely. So that's lovely. So who wants to? Susie, hi. How are you, Susie? It's lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you, Soniya. Learning from you all the time.
Thank you.
Wonderful to see you again.
Thank you. So who would like to go next? Anyone?
I can show mine.
Go on, Ronica. Lovely.
Mine's like, it's very different. It's, I've not really experimented with like I'll close this other one. I don't know if you can see the woman or just.
Yes.
That's not mine. That was Noelia. I don't know. Give me
okay.
Because it opened both of them. Now you can see like a picture of like a church, and so I was. I think our attention has been catched by her use of red, I think, and I was when I was looking at her pictures, there were a few that I really liked, which were like one of them said like a church in the background, or like some landscape, like a bit abstract, but to me they seem like autumn landscapes, and that's like a bit the time of the year we are now, and like very lonely and a bit dark. And I think it's a lot about nostalgia. Although I just see those pictures, and it's like a bit what transmits me. So this is a picture of my hometown, which is like a very. I think I've got a very conflict. I've experimented a little bit with like putting down because this is a bright picture actually. If you look for it online, but I wanted to have like the same effect. And like everyone, I think we've all have a bit of a conflicted identity with our hometowns and our lands of origin. So that's not my case because it's in Spain, but I think hometowns and roots and tradition will have conflicted identities to it. And I think for these artists, color red, it just brings the attention to that a bit. It's like there's some conflict, there's some danger. So one of them it's a clay elephant, and it's put in a landscape that I was a bit like, what's that elephant doing there? So I've just pasted it there, and that's what I've done. That's it.
That's lovely. Great, Monica. You know that the Hungarian church painting, I think, was one of the ones that she did in the early times when she was in Budapest. You know, that was the landscape from over there. So that's with those blues. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So who else wants to go? Susie, do you want to show us what you have? Listen, I can. I don't know if Nacho and Andrea, are you there? Because I can only see but you're connected for sure. But and Maria, but I don't know if they'd like to listen. I can show you mine and explain it. It's very simple, and I just basically, I think, can you see it? Okay, so basically
I'm here, but I haven't done anything because I'm not at home. I am at a hotel and I don't have a very good connection. So I decided just to watch. I'm an observer.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Okay, well, anyway, I'll just show you very quickly, show you what I did. I basically focused on her ongoing theme about child marriages and young brides, you know, which is something that's still ongoing in India and in other parts as well, you know. So I used her, this painting on the left is basically, it's not supposed to be a young bride. It says little girl in blue, but you know, there's always that big question from her expression on her face. She's obviously not a happy little child, you know. And then I used these this painting on the right at the bottom is called Bride's Toilet, which is also focuses on that theme, and then her letter from when she was a child, which is on the top. So, and I used a metaphor of these two trees in the background, you know, which are kind of sort of stylized in Indian style, you know, miniature painting style, and sort of the first one being kind of raw, as if, you know, without much hope, hopeless. But then in the second tree, I put in a few leaves as symbolizing maybe the possibility of hope, because some of these marriages, well, many of them don't end very well, but a lot of them do also in the end flourish, especially if the groom isn't too old, you know, and then they can actually, these arranged marriages you know, so, but in India, we really do need to address this issue. I mean, I think legally it's not legal for children to get married for under 12, 13-year-olds, but still, you know, the one thing is the law, and then the other thing is the cultural aspect, you know, in the remote villages. And also because of the economic situation, lots of families are sort of trying to basically settle their daughters, you know, with as soon as possible as they can. So this is basically an ongoing topic in India. So that's what I've done. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else who wants to? Miguel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I turned off my camera and everything, but I'm sorry, but I didn't do anything. I was like doing many things at the same time, and I kind of kept listening, but only as a witness.
Perfect,
I really
no
liked
problem.
your paintings. So thank you.
Okay, so perhaps we don't have, I don't know about Andrea. Is Andrea there? Do you want to share?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you for the workshop, Sonia, by the way. I have something, but I'm not really sure it's worth sharing, but
I'm
can
sure
try
it is. I'm
anyway.
sure it is.
Just a sec.
Go on, Andrea. Andrea. It's lovely to hear your voice.
Okay, I don't know if you can see it. So I don't really know what I was doing. I was basically trying to go from 3 girls into 4 women by incorporating the artists into the painting itself. But I don't know, there isn't much thought behind it. But it was a lovely experience nonetheless.
Okay, it's great. It looks lovely. It's very kind of Indian. There's that Indian. Are those are from her pieces, right? Do you know which ones they were?
Yeah, just took the painting 3 women, 3 girls, and then I added a photograph of the artist herself.
Right. Great. Okay, that's great. Lovely. Okay. Well, thank you. That's lovely. Right. So, Monica, do you want to? Or Jairo, do you want to close the session for now for lunch, or?
I would. So there is somebody else here who wants to either say something, share their artwork. Nobody. Okay. So thank you very much, Soniya, for this lovely experience. As I was saying just earlier, talking to you privately, it's really, really nice to have these spaces in conferences like this. And I think I speak for myself, and also Luz was saying that you discovered us, this lovely artist that I think that we're gonna Google it straight away. And so yeah, so thank you very much, and we'll see you again on this lovely chats that we have in this week. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was lovely seeing you all, and I enjoyed listening to what you have to say about your artworks as well, and seeing them. So thank you very much, and thank you for organizing this, Miguel and Monica, all the effort that goes into this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. So we'll see you later on in a little while.
Let's have lunch.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Are we going to have a lunch break now? Thank you very much, Jairo and Soniya. And after the lunch break, we've got just one panel, no parallel panels, from 4 to 7 in Spanish. And you can, with Carmen Escobedo de Tapia and Antonio Ballesteros González. You can join it by clicking on the link for room A, which is the one we are here now. But we just discovered before that in order for me to process the recordings, I have to kick you out of the room. Although you can access it immediately after, but that's, if not, the room would stay open in case you want to join early and chat or something, as if this was a bit like don't know, if you want to have a chat with someone in the conference, the room will be open, although I like very briefly need to kick you out so that my recording starts processing. But this room is open all the time. So we'll meet at 4 or earlier if you want in the same one, room A. And you've got the link in the last email that Miguel sent, because there was a mistake in the first link that was sent. But just don't hesitate to write to us if you find any problem. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.